Turkey.
Turkey. Gobble, gobble, gobble.
Man, the birds that we did pull off of Fort Hood, they were some pretty birds.
Were they?
I wouldn't say they were like Merriam's or, anything like that, but they definitely had like a brighter band. I don't know. They were beautiful.
How many did y'all get? 12?
Total this year?
14?
Like 60 something?
So we had a restoration project. We had several trap sites that we were pulling from. So,
yeah, we had some of the folks on a couple weeks ago, and they were like, "Yeah, they come and got them off Fort Hood," and we're like, "Yeah,
yeah.
We'll fix that later. All right, here we go. Go live. Yep.
What's that?
a pen."
Pen. And you're always welcome to text me.
I don't, not in here.
I got one in my truck.
I got one on the counter in that black folder. You want to grab that? We're good now. I'm going to leave this screen going for a while.
Classic biologist move. Don't have a pen.
We're good. We're good.
Everything but the pen. Oh.
Huh?
It's on the down low.
Oh.
All right. Check, check. Mic check. We're good. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Cast&Blast podcast. I'm your host, Pinche Ben. We got a good one for you guys. You guys asked for the experts, and we brought them on today. So we got Texas Parks and Wildlife biologist joining us today. I'm going to toss it over to my co-host, Jimmy Trent, and I'll have him do some introductions, and we'll dive right in, guys.
What's up, everyone? Good evening. Yeah, like Ben said, y'all been asking for the experts, and we delivered. So what we have today is we got Cullom Simpson and Brittany Perry, correct?
Correct.
Correct. All right. There we go. So they work for Texas Parks and Wildlife, and I know that you've seen the game warden on here a couple times and things like that. And we've talked. He's given us some great information, but it's all been about law enforcement side of it. And what we want to do is show you more of the conservation side, the biology side, and everything that happens behind the scenes that most of us don't know about, and some of the resources, services that they provide, not only the public side of the land within the state of Texas, but also the private. So if you're a landowner yourself, the services that they can provide for you as far as technical assistance for conservation, habitat control, habitat improvement, so many things that they cover. And yeah, we just want to shed some light on the hard work and the good things that they do, not only for the public land that we have access to, but also your private land. So with that being said, if y'all don't mind, I'm maybe just introducing yourself and maybe a little bit of background of how you got into it and kind of what your expertise is.
Yeah, so again, Brittany Perry, Texas Parks and Wildlife, district biologist for Milam, Burleson, and Falls County. I would say my background, I went to LSU, got my bachelor's of science there. I worked for several kind of private companies doing, environmental permitting. I also worked for Louisiana, our state agency, National Wild Turkey. And then about a year and a half ago, I started working for Texas Parks and Wildlife, so I'm very happy to be here.
Well, how do you like it in Texas now?
Well, I did live in Houston for about 6 years. now I'm more in the central Texas. I love it. I mean, yeah, Texas is great.
Like everyone from out of state says, couldn't get here fast enough.
I mean, Louisiana was pretty cool too.
Yeah, Louisiana is awesome.
But yeah, I do like living in Texas.
Yeah, Louisiana is
for sure.
awesome, especially the fishing and hunting world within Louisiana. I mean, it's endless.
Oh my
Endless.
goodness, I
It's
know.
awesome
I was
down there.
very lucky to grow up there.
Awesome. How about you, Colin?
Yeah, so Cullom Simpson with Texas Parks and Wildlife. I'm a biologist for Bell and Williamson counties. I've been here just going on over 5 years. I grew up in the Texas Hill Country. My parents have property outside of Bernie. Spent a lot of time out there just learning the plants and animals, and attended Tarleton for my undergraduate in wildlife management. Worked several internship research technician positions, and then landed out in Big Bend country going to Sul Ross for graduate school. And so I finished up my graduate school. Took me a little while. That place is an amazing place, and so there's a lot of things that offer a lot of distractions. But yeah, came from Alpine to Bell and Williamson County, and I've been having fun ever since. So.
Heck yeah. And we want to say thanks for coming on. This has been a goal of Ben and I is to have biologists here to talk about what y'all do and offer. So I guess with that being said, what is it that I guess kind of what drove you towards like what you're doing to be a biologist? Is it?
Oh, I was just like a nerd as a kid. I loved like animals, and that's really as simple as it is.
Yeah.
You know, I love the nature and how everything fits in together. And you know, there's many planets out there, but you know, this one is very interesting when you really get down into it and how everything interworks and is connected. So, really, I love it.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, so I had kind of an interesting path here. I met a former Parks and Wildlife biologist who's turned into be a lifelong mentor when I was in middle school at the Bear Moon Bakery in Bernie, Texas. And when I met him, I was just in awe with what his job was. It was like you get paid to do what? And so I started volunteering for that biologist shortly thereafter in middle school. Volunteered for him through middle school and through high school. And pretty much from that point on, I knew I wanted to be a biologist with Parks and Wildlife. And I still keep up with him to this day. And yeah, it's kind of been ingrained in me since I was in middle school.
From the outside looking in, I tell you, it seems like the secret that a lot of people don't know to get into. I know for me as a kid, I grew up way out in same thing, nature lover. Just when I say grew up in the woods, I grew up in the woods, and I never knew. I guess I didn't. The thought never crossed my mind that was even an option to do, you know what I mean? And so it's really cool to see it come to fruition and that people are actually doing it. And I guess was never exposed to it and seen it. So I guess I envy you in
it's
some ways.
It's an interesting field.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So you guys have come out to our lease, and y'all have done some things out there, checking on some things, and Ben and I, we just kind of sit in the back and we watch and try to learn and soak up what you were talking about and things. So what does a day in the life of a Texas Parks and Wildlife biologist kind of look like? And I'm sure it varies because
Yes.
you guys wear a lot of hats. And we're going to go into some of, maybe if you can speak about some of those different hats you wear.
So, yeah, we do wear so many hats. It isn't just playing with the animals. Wish it was. But we do a lot of interesting things from, going and visiting our landowners, technical guidance, trying to help them accomplish their wildlife goals. So that's through either programs where we provide either funding or just guidance for, or, doing experiments where we are trying to repopulate different aspects of our landscape. So something we can talk about later, but me and Cullom have a turkey project. Then we also do things like population monitoring. So that's doing deer surveys, or we also ban doves. So we are just wearing all kinds of hats all the time, and no day really is the same.
Which is really unique and cool, I would think. Like, you know what I mean? I mean, you wake up, you have a task for the day that you know you're going to
Yes.
do, but it may end up totally different than what you initially, thought or planned it was going to be like. So
my goodness.
that's
Like,
gotta
I got a call for a baby owl the other day that I had to go and get off of the landscape and take to a rehabber. It's always crazy.
So not only on top of helping, the public lands and doing things like that and helping the private lands, you're also running or participating in different projects.
Yes.
And you mentioned a turkey project, and I know you probably can't go too in depth on it, but that's just it's a cool project that's helping an area with a low density of turkeys, right?
Yes.
Maybe just whatever you can, and maybe talk about the success rate of kind of what that looks like if you can.
Yeah. So in Central Texas, we used to have turkeys, but over, I guess, land use change throughout the years. Those densities of turkeys and the population has kind of dwindled, and really they are not found out on the landscape anymore. So there just isn't a lot of viable habitat for them. So why would they be out there? So through years of working with landowners and doing really good habitat practices, and we're talking about like the post oak savanna, so doing a lot of brush management and getting the landscape back to a healthier place where a turkey can live, which we can get into that, but essentially it is that we have decided that the landscape was good enough to try and repopulate some turkeys. And to jumpstart that, we had been trapping some. Cullom, do you want to?
So this area that we're working in, it's a 3-county area. It's really this kind of, to the west, you've got the Edwards Plateau. As you move to the east from the Edwards Plateau, just north of Georgetown and immediately east of Georgetown, you've got the I-35 corridor, and that serves as a major barrier for movement for animals. And so as you move east, you kind of get into the Blackland Prairie, and then just shortly after that, just on the Milam-Williamson County line into the Post Oak Savanna. And so the transition of those 3 ecoregions is really where our restoration project is taking place. And it really, when I came into this position, it was something that had been talked about for a long time, and it, we've had increasing interest from private landowners. Parks and Wildlife also has a pretty vested interest in Granger Lake from a public hunting standpoint. And so it was really the combination of private landowners, a federal land holding, and some support by NWTF to really make this process kind of start. And so last year we did a pilot study. We released 10 radio-marked female hens at Granger and 10 radio-marked female hens up in Milam County. The Milam County site had about an 85% survival rate. Our Granger site had about 40% survival. And that survival is really a function of where those sites are on the landscape. Our Milam County site was a post oak savanna site. There were birds on that site when we released, and so we knew we weren't releasing in a desert. The Granger site, it's more of a Blackland Prairie site. We released along the San Gabriel River, and the habitat quality along the river is really good, but once you move adjacent to the river, it becomes croplands. And so just trying to look at kind of that transition between post oak savanna and Blackland prairies and try to, increase the turkey numbers. And a lot of what that stems from is in the 80s, they released turkeys in the same areas, and those birds held on. You talk to to the locals, and they'll tell you about the days of just hearing turkeys galore.
And that's what we hear down there
Yep.
where we're at is
Yep.
in Milam County
Yep.
is people talking about the amount of turkeys that used to be there.
Yep.
They're not there.
No, they're not. But people love the turkey, and so whenever we started this project, we get an overwhelming support from the public to get those turkeys back on the landscape. So we're so excited about
Which
that.
is really cool. When y'all held the, I guess, I don't know if it was a symposium or just the meeting.
Yeah,
the
a
meeting
Down in
public
Granger?
meeting.
down at Granger.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Ben and I went, we came and we were impressed. And unknowing to us, we didn't know exactly what y'all did either, but we left there very impressed, and we were like, wow.
Yeah.
They're working hard for us. You know what I mean? And doing
Definitely.
great things. And we wanted to, I guess, expose what you guys are
Right.
doing behind the curtain. You know what I mean?
And I think that's the takeaway today is like there's so many resources out there to outdoorsmen, landowners, public hunters, or public land hunters, all that. There's so many resources out there for those guys that people really don't know how to reach out and tap into those resources. We want to kind of expose a little bit of some of that stuff that you guys do down in I say in your region, but I think you both kind of work outside that region in a sense of helping each other out.
Yes.
I would imagine you guys are a little bit shorthanded, I guess, across Texas. Is that accurate?
there could always be more hands.
There can always be more hands on deck.
Yeah.
Especially, we have more and more people coming into Texas. More and more people are achieving. I tend to look at more and more people coming into Texas and more people owning land as they're achieving their lifelong goal of land ownership. And for us, that's kind of job security, right? They're always going to have an interest in that land. Most of the time when they are buying that land, that's a goal that they've aspired to achieve.
Yeah, sure.
And so they want to do the best that they can for that land, and that's where we can help out.
And it's completely unbiased. I mean, from what I've understood is everybody wants something different out of whatever piece of property they have.
Yeah.
And you're going to help them achieve that goal for whatever that goal is for them, whether it's agriculture, wildlife conservation, habitat conservation, whatever it might be.
Yep, and I've even got some properties that I'm working with now that are in the beginning stages of development, and I'm maintaining that relationship through their development processes, trying to help them achieve their goal of development, but also taking our natural resources into consideration and helping kind of thread the needle between meeting their goals and wanting to develop the land, but also keeping some of that natural integrity.
That's what's sad. I know each time Ben and I, we drive anywhere that we're familiar with the area, and we just see new development coming up all over the place. And it's growth, and we understand it's going to happen, but also it's very sad at the same time. You're just like, man, you're taking away so much. I mean, you're giving a lot, but you're taking away so much that's out there. That
So much of the landscape is getting, I guess you could say, developed in the urban sense, right? So imagine all those people who were out in the country and they were, in this beautiful area that they had hundreds and hundreds, maybe thousands of acres between them and the next neighboring property. It's starting to get a little bit different now, and the landscape's changing.
It all starts with that $1 General that pops up.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, exactly. You might have one in your backyard.
A good rain is all it takes.
That's right.
Yeah, and so what I've really learned by working with these landowners through this process is that, we don't want to see that land be developed, but people are moving here just as a lot of us once have moved to a new place.
Thank you, Joe Rogan.
And so, there's a way to develop that preserves that green space, that natural beauty. And, by keeping the door open and working through those processes and those relationships, it allows you to have impact in a different way than what, maybe I expected coming from Alpine, working on a very vast landscape. But it's been interesting.
But we can talk about Tanya. So she is essentially Austin City, our counterpart out there.
Okay.
They do a lot of urban stuff. So,
See, I never even
you know,
thought of
helping
that.
and making
That's-
microhabitat for songbirds. You know, even if you are on an urban landscape, there's still management practices that we can implement.
And there's still going to be a lot of wildlife within that
Correct.
urban lines. So
Yep, and-
if you take away, you know, maybe you took away their living room and their bedroom, at least leave them the kitchen or something, you know, like, can we talk about how,
Yeah,
all right, take this,
yeah.
but leave this for them.
Yeah, and so sometimes, you know, as urbanization occurs, we're still going to be in there. You know, as more and more people move into this kind of wildland urban gradient, there's going to be more negative interactions with wildlife, and so we're still going to be there and working within that setting. It just may be a little bit different.
Now, this is something that just come to mind as we're having this conversation. When you see larger parcels of property, do you see wildlife in the area a little, you know, do they seem to thrive a little better than a large parcel that's been, chopped up into smaller and sold off?
So I
Is
wouldn't
that-
say it's larger versus smaller, but it's more like same management plan together. versus small.
Communication within
So,
the, yeah.
We have this really cool thing that happens in Texas. WMAs and co-ops. We have a lot of landowners that have similar goals get together and join a group. We facilitate some of this through our managed lands deer program, where they can go in and have a habitat management practice for deer and help them be like a healthy population across several people's landscapes. So it's just how it happens.
Yeah, so it happens in a lot of different ways, and so I think it just depends on how that development is occurring, right? Are we talking smaller properties that 10 to 20 acre range, or are we talking less than an acre?
I guess it is a bit ambiguous. So,
Yeah,
I mean, it can
yep,
branch
yep,
off so
yep,
many
and
different
so,
ways, yeah.
You know, Sun City, that has some tremendous wildlife in and around some of the riparian areas that they've not developed. And so it just depends on how it's done. And to the point of co-ops, that's trying to manage basically a bunch of properties as if it was one. So a lot of neighborhoods are going to have, you know, HOAs, and in some rural environments it might be a POA. And so you're basically working with all of the landowners in that development to try to get on the same page. My parents live just north of Bernie, and we had a property that was sold, and it's since been developed in the 5 to 50 acre range. And one of the things that I wanted to do, it was hard enough to see this ranch that I had seen all my life be broken up and developed. But one of the things that I did when it kind of started is I got all the new landowners together, and we had just kind of a meet and greet and talked about living in the hill country. And it's kind of the saying goes, can we all move in and live here without spoiling what we all came here for?
Right.
And I think at the core, everybody's moving here because they like it. And so if you can meet on that common ground, it's good for everybody.
Yeah, agree. That's the common ground. But it seems like that common ground is getting harder and harder to find, though.
It is. Yep.
That's what's getting tough. But
Yep.
I mean, even out there where we're at, I'm not going to say we struggle to find common ground with adjacent landowners, but it's been difficult at times, and I think we're getting into it pretty well now with a lot of the adjacent people. And originally, I think what they thought is a lot of people just think that people are going to go out there and destroy the wildlife. They just want to go out there but I think we've shown that, hey, we're trying to manage it and get, population density numbers to a manageable level. So that helps with it. But some of the others aren't, so it makes it tough. So if I buy a property and I want to get in touch with you guys and say,
Yes.
hey, can y'all come take a look at this? Can y'all just help me out? How would somebody go about doing that?
Yes.
Well, I was going to say from square Square one, you would just go onto our website and find your county's biologists and contact us. But yeah.
Yeah, so the webpage would be Find a Biologist. There's a map of Texas with all the counties, and you can click whatever county you live in, and generally the biologist that would be at our level is going to be the first row in a row of contacts, and so you can just reach out. Email is generally best. A lot of times we may or may not be in service.
Yeah.
And when you're not in service, voicemails do squirrely things. But yeah, emails is best, and generally what you'll get when you email us is, hey, thanks for reaching out. How can we help? What can we be of assistance with?
Yeah.
We do, so every landowner that we work with, we ask to create an account in what we call our land management assistance program. It's kind of our statewide system of keeping track of the landowners that we provide technical guidance with. And there's also basically an agreement that what the biologist and the landowner talk about is then kept confidential, right?
Yes.
So we're not going from landowner to landowner talking about landowners.
Oh, okay.
Landowner to landowner type business. And so that's kind of the first step. And then once we get that, we'll meet with you out on your property, and but that LMA account, that's going to kind of serve as kind of a platform for your property and what we provide for that property, if it's in the form of a management plan or some sort of survey or and even just what our site visits was. And so, every site visit that we go on, we have to report that. And so that creates a record for the landowner to see, hey, I had him out here, 5 years ago, and this is what we talked about.
And you're kind of going to build a foundation off that, I guess. I mean,
Definitely.
Yep. And so every conversation is going to start with, hey, what are your goals? What's your story? Every landowner has a story. And so getting to know that is going to help us know what to provide you.
Yeah.
And how to help you.
And I just want to throw that out too, that if once you send that email as a landowner to a biologist, give it time, because you are pretty busy. You're not going to drop what you're doing and head straight over.
Yeah, and I, generally, I'm about a month out as far as site visits go, and it's not that I have a site visit every day, but because of our job and needing some inflexibility, that's kind of where we're at. And so, especially around the spring when wildlife tax valuation season is kind of coming in, it might be difficult, but we want to work with you. There's one of us and 1 to 2 and even 3 counties.
3 counties.
Yeah, I do have 3 counties.
1 for 3 counties. Yeah, you can.
Man, that's tough.
And like I said, within that 1 to 3 counties, that's all land. That's private and public, so not just one or the other. Yeah. So what are some of the things that you can assist private landowners with then? I mean, maybe not too in-depth, but just something where somebody that's going to see this and they're going to be like, that's what I need. That's who I should have called.
No, for sure. And like we already explained, we wear so many different hats. So we kind of just mentioned wildlife tax valuations. We help so many landowners with that in creating their wildlife tax valuation management plan. That's what we're really in the thick of that right
Tax
now.
season is a busy season for you, huh? Yeah.
Yeah, so that ramps up, and then kind of that April 30th deadline, it'll kind of
Slow
wane
back
a little
down.
bit. Yep. And so,
But that is a service we provide.
Yep.
We also have, and it varies area to area, but like 2 really popular, I guess, programs that Texas Parks and Wildlife provides is our pub program and our LIP program. So me and Cullom do a lot with pubs, so if you want to tell them about that.
yeah, so those are some of our cost share assistance programs. Normally those are going to come into play once we've been on the property, we've established, maybe your goals and maybe we've created a management plan, and maybe one of your your objectives in your management plan is that you want to do some sort of grassland restoration project. And so pub would come in as that potential opportunity for a cost share program to provide that management practice.
Now, for that, does your property have to, you or your property have to meet some type of prereqs before it's eligible?
Yeah, so pub is pasture swept and game birds. It's really aimed at converting non-native monocultures, historical hayfields,
Grazed lands.
grazed lands with some sort of non-native component. And so if you have a pasture that's at least 20 acres and it's at least 50% non-native vegetation, then that would then be eligible to be enrolled into pub.
There's a lot of that out there. Someone's going to
yep.
see this and be like, that's
Yep.
that's me.
Yep.
No,
That's
I
me.
mean, if they want to go all in on restoration and they had, let's say, bought a large parcel of old hayfield and that's just not what their goals are, we have solutions, And if you meet those few requirements, we try to do as much pub programs and restoration in general as we can. So it's through these private landowners that we are creating this habitat.
And then I know along with it, there's state grants out there that will help facilitate.
Yep. Yeah.
know.
So one of my responsibilities is trying to help facilitate grassland restoration projects by keeping up with a no-till seed drill. And so this past year, kind of within the Central Texas area, I think I was involved with 20 projects. Some were pub, some were lip, and some were equip. And so that's just, when we come out to the property, that's one of the tools that we bring if that's where one of the appropriate tools for your property.
Yeah.
And so, but really what we're going to provide general habitat management recommendations to meet your goals. And so,
And that's a key word, your goals.
Your goals.
Correct.
It's not your goals, it's the property
It's the
owner goals.
landowner.
That's what it's tailored towards them, and that's I don't know. I didn't know that y'all done that, and I think that's awesome.
Yeah, so it's really focused at what the landowner wants, and we don't offer this to landowners unless it's solicited,
Yeah.
right? And so that's kind of be the jumping off point is kind of that initial site visit, seeing the property, kind of developing the relationship, talking about maybe some habitat management goals, and then a lot of our landowners turned into lifelong relationships.
Yeah.
And so I know Brittany's got several landowners that she works with, and including y'all. So
Yeah.
It's fun every time y'all come in. Oh, you know what? We owe you something.
Oh.
We owe you a map.
Yeah,
We do, don't we?
We owe that, and
We didn't.
No, we
turn
got
our
the
home-
other.
Yeah, we didn't turn our homework in.
Yeah, we owed you. We were supposed
Survey
to
map.
do our survey map and kind of map out some areas and give you that. We still owe you
Oh.
that, so we're gonna get working on that. It's like
Well, y'all know my email.
Yeah. That just kind of clicked right now as we were, because I was going to talk about the
Our brow survey that we did? Or
No.
okay.
the deer count survey or map
Oh,
survey map.
yes.
for our travel path. For the count.
Yes, I do need that. Yes.
We're gonna get it to you.
Yeah, we failed this assignment, didn't we?
We're gonna drop their emails in the description of the video so that if you guys have more further questions, you want to dive deeper, and maybe you're not sending us your questions and you need some help and you want to tap into those resources, we'll share their email in the description so that you can reach out to them if you're in the area. And if you're not, maybe they can point you in the right direction for whatever region you need help with. So we're just trying to pass this information out to you guys, get you to tap into the resources that are available and see what we can learn from, I call it the smart folks, because they spent the time and went to school and did all this. I mean, there's just so much that you can talk about when it comes to a wildlife biologist and the, I guess you could say, complexity that, a relationship between, the habitat and people in general, because it's one thing is the habitat, and the other is, we have to be stewards, and we have to do and learn and do our diligence to see how it is, what role we play in conservation and habitat and all that. Can you talk a little bit about that, Jimmy?
Yeah, I mean, we were having some sideline conversations about that earlier, and there's as a hunter, you're not only a hunter. There's a an obligation to become a good steward of wildlife, not only the wildlife, but the habitat, all ecosystems.
I mean, you
that
can
you're
or you
around.
can't.
Like, you can or you can't. But
We
you
always have hopes
Right.
that
Yeah.
you get a deeper connection and a deeper meaning when you get out there.
and it's sickening. I mean, that's a pretty strong word, but I know it sickens us when we see folks that, I don't know, maybe shoot a deer and they cut the back straps out and that's it, and they throw it in a river. And I'm like, man, what are you doing? You're making everybody look bad. But, yeah, I mean, you're right, Ben. Like, we're stewards of the environment. Like, treat it as such.
Yeah, we're supposed to be improving the footprint, or else that footprint's going to go away.
It will.
Simple, you know?
I mean, it's happening before everybody's eyes.
Yep.
And that has a lot to do with, you know, what we do when we go sit in your symposiums and your town hall meetings, so to speak, where you're just passing out information. You guys go through the hard work of taking or gathering the data, analyzing the data, and then sharing the data. Well, if we don't do nothing with that data and we're just kind of like, yeah, that's cool, and we throw it away and we don't ever like learn from it, we're going to start running out. We're going to have, I won't say endangered species. We're going to have that. You know, we're already seeing that with turkey and our population and all that stuff. I won't say it's to that extreme, but if we don't do something about it, you know, these things are going to go away. It happened 200 years ago with whitetail and all that stuff. So
There's also a respect factor. Like, respect. Y'all are out there out there all the time, but you're going to gather 6-8 months, a year's worth of work, and then you're going to have a briefing on it. I mean,
Yeah.
this kind of open to everybody.
That's where the regulations come in.
Right.
Or where
But it seems like I think the hunting community could pull together better to support, I guess is what I'm getting at. You'll go out and you'll collect all this, you'll do all this work, collect all this data, and say, hey, this is what's happening in your area. And then you still get people that will go out and complain about, you know, like, oh, why's turkey hunting shut down this year? Well, there's only 6 turkeys in the county. That's why. And you're not going to shoot them.
Yeah. One of the things that I would say is pretty common among a lot of wildlife biologists is we probably got into this thinking that we were going to be playing with animals and working with wildlife. But a lot of what we spend time with is building relationships with people, and multiple relationships.
Yeah.
And so, the people side of it is definitely, it can be challenging, but it can also be one of the most rewarding sides.
Speaking of people issues, I know as a hunter, you have people issues on public land rather than, you know, on private land. Do y'all find more people issues on public land than, you know, dealing with private landowners?
Yeah, so one of the things in Williamson County, we've got Granger Lake.
Mm-hmm.
It's a leased property by Parks and Wildlife to provide public hunting. The Corps provides public hunting on several other properties, but with Granger, Parks and Wildlife is pretty involved, and we have been for a long time. That's an interesting situation out there because you've got the public hunting side of things, but then adjacent to the public land, you've got private landowners.
Sure.
And a lot of times they're hunting the same deer that are using both the private land and the public land. A lot of the private landowners out there, there's some bumps, but generally they're pretty, you know, hey, we live here, you know, the deer come and go, there's public hunting. I think a lot of it just has to do with what the expectation is of that piece of public hunting property that they're hunting on.
No, so you guys, I guess y'all cover all the WMAs, the core land.
So we're district staff. So we're assigned to counties. With Granger, that happens to be right on the line of our counties, and so there's this phrase, other duties as assigned. And so Granger,
Yes.
the fine print.
Yeah, so the public hunting at Granger falls into that other duties as assigned, and it's a great opportunity. You know, it's a very popular public hunting spot. It's a place to demonstrate habitat management practices.
Yes.
We were able to do a burn out
Two
there.
burns.
Yeah, we've done 2 burns out there. One this year that's responding great. If you drive across the dam on Granger and you look to the east, you'll see it.
We literally burned it and then released turkeys onto it
I-
months later. It was awesome.
Yeah.
I have a question regarding burns,
Uh-huh.
and you guys bear with us. The cameras are getting dark in spots. I'm trying to keep bright lights on our guests. I can go dark. I don't care. I have a question when it comes to burns. If
Yes.
a landowner wanted to, they're interested in doing a controlled burn on their property. What kind of resources are available to a landowner that is completely oblivious to what tools to gather, what information to pull together, what people are available, what resources as far as emergency, all that stuff? Like, where does one even start, and how valuable could a burn be to some of these properties?
Yeah, so it's going to come through that initial site visit where we're talking about goals and objectives and what you want on the property, and come through that site visit where we're looking at the landscape. And so, if through that site visit we end up, recommending a prescribed burn would be beneficial for a given area on your property. Parks and Wildlife does offer technical assistance to implementing prescribed burns. It's a teach to burn type mentality. And so just last week we were helping out on a burn over near Round Top with South Central PBA,
Yes.
Prescribed Burn Association. But our goal is to help that landowner get comfortable with that practice so that once they're comfortable, they can continue doing it, and we can go to the next landowner and help them also. But in the meantime of that, we're going to help those landowners. We're going to come out. We're going to help implement a prescribed burn, make sure that it's done safely. We're going to provide equipment, and we're going to help that landowner understand, hey, what equipment he could need to safely implement those prescribed burns.
We even have public workshops that help landowners learn how to burn and the benefits it is to their land. And we teach about equipment, what to look for, weather, everything. It's learn to burn 101, even ending in a demonstration most days.
So, like, if I'm a landowner and I'm interested in doing it, would you be able to do, say, on my land, do one of those workshops and then bring people from the community to kind of learn from it there on the land? Is that a question?
Train the trainer
Yeah.
type.
So normally, so that's there's a lot there in that question. So like last Friday, we had a burn workshop at the Nezalone Wildlife Management Area near Gonzales. We had about 20 landowners out. It was with Parks and Wildlife, AgriLife. There was some representation from Bastrop and the Nature Conservancy. And so we had a series of presentations that talks about, vegetation management for prescribed burning and livestock management, and then really the nuts and bolts of burning. And then we did a demonstration burn. And so there's also PBAs, so prescribed burn associations, that are landowners, a group of landowners helping landowners do prescribed burns.
That's awesome.
And so there's a workshop at Mason Mountain Wildlife Management Area for the Mason County Prescribed Burn Associations on April 26th. So that would be an opportunity for a landowner to attend, kind of get their feet wet, and if they want to burn, participate within those prescribed burn associations, or have Parks and Wildlife come out and provide some technical guidance on it, and then kind of let that progress from there.
So there's one of those, I guess, maybe not organizations, but a group of people that are getting
Yes.
together to help each other and help others.
It's great because they have their resources.
Mm-hmm.
They have a group of people, so that provides the manpower, and then them together get their equipment, so they can just go from landscape to landscape. Who needs to burn, and they all help each other.
Yeah, that's what we like to see in here. That's awesome. That's good. What are some of the maybe challenges of the public land? When I say that, I almost say that I'm not going to say jokingly. Well, I guess what I'm saying is there's not a whole lot of public land in Texas. Is what I'm saying. So
yeah, so with Granger, it's one of the closest public hunting properties north of Austin.
Yep.
It's a balance of quantity versus quality, right? And so that's our struggle. We want everybody to have an opportunity, but it's trying to balance that opportunity with, do you want to hunt with somebody 10 feet from you, every place down the fence line.
And then safety becomes an issue.
And so, and it's not just Granger. Every public hunting property in the state of Texas and the United States is kind of facing that same challenge. And it's difficult. I think respect kind of goes a long way on those public hunting properties.
There is some etiquette in public hunting.
There is some etiquette, yeah. And a lot of that is, I try to encourage that to come from hunter to hunter. There's myself and 2 Army Corps of Engineer Rangers that are out on Granger Lake, and our Williamson County Game Wardens. But trying to let, other hunters kind of guide that etiquette. And so we have a group called the Granger Rangers out there.
Yeah, that's cool.
Rangers. They're
Yes.
We had a ranger on the podcast last week.
Go Granger Rangers.
Yes.
That's cool.
It's a group of people that hold Granger near and dear to their heart, and so they want to keep it a great place.
That's what it's about.
And so, you've got that on other public hunting properties, but it's a balance between quantity and quality.
Do y'all find yourself spending more work hours on public or private?
Definitely private.
Definitely private. That's what
Definitely private.
Yeah, I think they can both consume all of your time.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I imagine both your calendars are pretty full.
Yep.
Like they stay pretty full.
Yep. And it can consume all your time. So it's a balance, right?
That's why we appreciate y'all coming,
Yep.
taking your time to come by and do this.
Yep.
Oh no, it's a great way to start conversations and reach public that might have not known about us. Or the resources we can provide, not necessarily us.
Yeah. Do y'all get that a lot about like, oh, I didn't know that resource was there. I knew that there's biologists, but I didn't know that you were a resource that was, I'm not going to say usable, but available to
all the time.
Landowner. Yeah.
All the time.
I had no clue.
And we're not the only game in the shop, right? There's NRCS, there's AgriLife, there's nonprofits that all help landowners with habitat management and achieve.
And that's where I thought it all came from.
Even private consultants.
Yeah, even private consultants. So it takes a team to help fill the need.
I guess I would say my initial, what I thought, I knew that Texas Parks and Wildlife had biologists, but I thought it was for public only. I didn't know that Texas Parks and Wildlife, you were available for private landowners as well.
Yep.
And so that kind of, when I found, I was like, wow, that's cool.
Yeah, being in a state that's, depending on the source, 98% privately owned, there's a demand from the private side to help landowners achieve or with whatever they need help with.
Yeah, that's so cool. It's like a dream job, like the best kept secret.
Speaking of dream jobs, like if somebody were to somebody's watching right now and they're aspiring to be a wildlife biologist, what advice would you give to someone out there who is maybe they're in school right now, they don't know which direction they go or whatever, maybe they're real young and they want to kind of get into this world? What advice would you have for them that can maybe go that route?
There's some little kid out there that just got out of school and he ran to the creek behind the house and he's flipping over rocks looking for crawdads and
yeah. So I mentioned this earlier. I would suggest to those people that maybe do want to consider this as a career to reach out and ask to volunteer. That was instrumental in me kind of understanding what the job was and recognizing that is what I wanted to do. And most of us are more than willing to pass that along. I had a mentor growing up, and so if it wasn't for that mentor, I wouldn't be here. And so I want to help people.
Do y'all have any type of ride along or internship type?
Do we?
Yeah, so we do have a volunteers program where we can take volunteers.
And that's the program you volunteered with.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's kind of evolved since then a little bit. But yeah, I mean, so to a high schooler that might be interested in doing wildlife work.
What would be the first place you point them to reach out? like an email
So
or a phone
would,
call?
I would see, whatever county you're living in and reach out to that
that
local biologist.
Okay.
That's going to be the district biologist.
Yeah, so that Find a Biologist website would be that, and email them, call them, pester them. Squeaky wheel gets the grease, right?
Yeah, squeaky wheel gets the grease.
Yep. And so, and as you volunteer, your relationship will evolve, and you'll get to do some cool things. I mean, I remember when I was in high school, I was doing spotlight surveys and help trap turkeys. So that's kind of
How cool is the spotlight survey the first time you get to do it? I know the first time I done it, I felt like I was doing something illegal. I'm like,
Yeah.
We call the game warden
We
every
did.
time before
Yep.
we go, and we're like, hey, Derek, we're going to be, he's like, I know, stop calling me, man.
Yeah.
Well, we rather call him than him get a call from someone else and then him not know. At least now he's getting a call. He's like, yeah, I know those guys are out there.
Yeah, so spotlight surveys are fun. I think my first one was at Honey Creek State Natural Area, in between Bernie and New Braunfels. I think it was fun. It was,
Yeah, it is fun. It is fun.
Yeah.
I would say my first one was last year. So without
Yep.
telling on myself too much, I didn't have a strong background in deer before this job, but definitely have a background in I guess education wise, just not experience. So
Yeah.
it was actually me and Cullom.
Yep. Yeah, we were over in Milam County along the river. So
Was you surprised how many deer you seen at night with the spot? Were you like, oh my God, where they all come from?
yeah, I think the most I've ever seen, we did a survey over around Doss, kind of in Gillespie County, and I think we saw just over 1,000 deer in like a 15-mile route.
Oh my good, 1,000 deer. And that's why you're
Yep.
sitting here
Yep.
to,
Yep.
yes.
Yep,
That,
so-
I mean, that sounds awesome, but it's not, is it?
Oh, it was crazy because
That's-
we're not just counting deer; we're taking some other measurements,
Yeah.
and so it's a fast and furious pace.
Yeah, aging them, sexing them, just on the hoof.
Yep.
Which
Yeah.
is not an easy task to do in itself.
Yep. So
Is there a project or a hat that you wear that is your favorite, that you're like, this is, one of those, this is why I do what I do type things?
Yeah. So, I do love my relationship with my landowners and working with them, but I'm a bird person.
Amen. Amen.
So, doing this like turkey project, that's my favorite hat.
Yeah.
I love trapping them, keeping track of them, and putting them out on the landscape and seeing that project grow, and even creating habitat for them. That's my favorite hat.
yeah, so I would have so with the seed drill work, that also happens to be when we do a lot of our prescribed burns, and so in the spring and fall, I'm kind of wearing both of those hats.
Okay.
And generally, I'm trying to do a seed drill project and I'm trying to burn somewhere, and so that's kind of my game is prescribed burning and doing restoration projects.
The aftermath, I say the aftermath like it's a bad thing, but the results from a prescribed burning, once it goes away and you start getting that neon green vegetation, like it's so beautiful,
Yes.
and you're just like, that's why I done that. Like
Yeah,
it does a lot of good.
So like today, so we, like the burn we did at Granger.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so the burn we did at Granger, it was a
All I saw was green.
yeah. So it's a
Throw
Blackland
it up to the
Blackland
camera.
Blackland Prairie bottomland site, and it's responding great. And so we use
camera.
those
This camera.
burns to
there it is.
to provide outreach opportunities on using prescribed fire. And so today I was doing photo points out there, looking at the change of the burn. And what's really been cool is some of the turkeys that we released have actually been using the area that we burned.
Yep.
Okay.
So
now
kind
you're
of a direct
seeing
impact.
seeing
Yep.
the fruits of the labor
Yep.
there.
Yep.
Just connecting the dots and making it happen.
Yep.
That's pretty fulfilling, I would believe. I would think so. That's
yeah.
that's cool.
That's super cool. Like we are outdoorsmen, Jimmy and I, and we like to pride ourselves in getting out there and taking people, putting them on hunts and all that stuff, and letting them experience that maybe first time or just fall in love. For us, it's kind of like teaching somebody t-ball. you're either gonna make it or break it off of that first experience,
Uh-huh.
and you're gonna have a long career or you're gonna have a real short career. It just depends on how bad your dad ties your right hand behind your back and all that stuff. But if you could, I like to ask a question to two outdoorsmen. If you could pick anywhere in Texas to go on a specific kind of hunt or fish, where would you go based off of what you love, what you just maybe bucket list or anything? I would like to just hear from you guys where it is that you would like to go. It's just a fun question.
Okay, y'all are all looking at me. It's so hard to answer that question, especially being not like brand new to Texas, but like,
Yeah.
man, Texas can provide so many different types of habitats and so many different game, and even like,
Yeah,
you know, the same, for example, let's say your thing is turkey hunting.
Yeah.
Don't go
The
to
hill
Mullen County.
country, you know, it's going to be such a different experience than, like, let's say Eastern Texas out in the piney woods.
Yeah.
You know, something, you know, this is something I do love about Texas. It's so different, you know. So that, I don't know how to answer that question.
I think
so
that was
I'm
a good
sorry.
answer. I think that was
Like,
a good
there's
answer.
just so many things you can do.
You almost answered it with a way of opening people's eyes to so much more. We can all get narrow.
Oh, yeah.
We can all get the tunnel vision on
That
what it
hunting
is I
and-
want to do.
that
But
hunting and fishing license that you buy, man, you can do so many different experiences.
that's
you
right.
know?
I mean, all the
It's
zones
great.
are there. Everything, all the regulation is posted for everyone to go to different areas and explore different game and do all kinds of stuff. You can sign up for drawn hunts. You can do all kinds of things. Cullom, I know you might be in the same boat she is, as I can't narrow it down, but there's got to be something. If you could just do, if money wasn't an object, if high fence, low fence, whatever the case is, you just want a bucket list hunt or fish in Texas somewhere, where would it be?
Yeah, so I'm going to have to go back to when I was in graduate school out west in Big Bend. In October,
Gorgeous.
I would make my way up to the Davis Mountains or east of Marathon to the Glass Mountains. And this is kind of, I would go and listen to elk.
Oh, yeah.
Texas has a pretty good number of elk out west, and I've got some really distinct memories of seeing some upper 300
Wow.
inch
Yeah.
bull elk. And
That's an intimate relationship you got to experience.
yeah, I
you know?
remember driving on Longfellow Road, which is between east of Marathon, and I was driving down the road, and again, I knew that the elk were out there. It was rut, and I remember this bull that was probably 380, just bugling right off the side of the road, and you know, so if I had to say it, it'd probably be an elk hunt out, you know, in the Davis Mountains or the Glass Mountains within Texas.
So
That'd be all. I thought you was going to say one of the big cats that is apparently in every single county in Texas.
but
Everywhere.
nobody has eyes or
Yeah,
anything
yeah.
on. That's a whole nother podcast. So we could talk cats and
We can dive into that a little bit. I mean
let's do it.
yeah, so a lot. That's probably one of our most frequent calls. Is I've seen I saw a mountain lion.
Yeah.
I've gotten a call or two. So.
Yeah, and it a lot of times it's associated with areas that are more urban. And so since I've been here for 5 years, I've had one positive, like, okay, that's a mountain lion.
Is there a reason most of those are more urban? Less experience of.
Yeah,
Probably
I
less
don't-
predators towards
Well,
them.
I'm,
Yeah, I
I'm
don't-
just curious.
So a lot of times, you know, so the call is going to go, hey, I think I saw a mountain lion. Okay. Do you have a picture of it? Well, no, I don't. Okay. Or they'll send us a picture, right? And, you know, it's like, okay, there's a rock in the background or right under it.
Yeah.
How big is that rock?
Yeah.
And then you use that as a scale
A reference,
comparison
yeah.
to the mountain lion. And so it's a frequent call. Sometimes it's true, sometimes it's not.
Yeah.
I had a situation when I first moved here in Killeen. Got a call from Chris Sanchez, who's our local game warden.
Shout out Chris Sanchez.
Yeah,
I hope you're
shout out
watching.
Chris.
And so it was a call about a mountain lion with cubs in a creek behind an apartment complex. Okay. So
The last place a mountain lion would be.
Not necessarily, right? I mean, there is that urban wildland gradient, so it's, we want to take everything as if it were real, and so we went out there, and it had rained a bunch, and so really good conditions to see tracks, right? And so Chris and I were looking in this creek, and we did find some small tracks, but nothing that was that could lead us to saying positive or not, right? And so we told the lady that had called, hey, we didn't see anything, but we did see some tracks, so there could be some sort of small cat, right? Well, so there's a neighborhood platform, the Ring Forum.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And like a week later, I got a phone call from somebody that had barricaded themselves in their house because the individual that we had told there could be some sort of small cat put on the Ring camera that, hey, I had the biologist and game warden out, and and they said there's evidence of a large cat in the area.
That was here local?
Yeah, that was here local.
Local?
And this lady and her son had barricaded themselves in their house for like 3 days because they saw this. And she
No
called,
Chick-fil-A, no nothing.
No, yep. And so she called me, like, begging me
Resources are running low.
yeah. And, so that just goes to show how things can get misconstrued. And luckily I was able to call her and be like, well, I'm the one that told her that.
Yeah.
And we just said it was a small cat, right?
There you go.
And a lot of that stuff, it's sometimes inconclusive. It just gets kind of cumbersome as to whether
it's
is
super,
or isn't.
They're out there. There are a few hit or miss, and I guess, but we have ongoing. But Brittany, and we do have a buddy in Milam County that has a picture of one. It's not his picture, but
Here we go.
It's from,
He knows a guy.
Yeah, he knows a guy, and that's how all these stories go.
Yeah.
It's like, and that's why.
Send it over to me.
That's I'll try to get it from him. Actually,
We have it, but yeah,
Yeah.
we'll send it to her with the email with our mapped out
with our
track.
survey map.
And it's funny, right? I mean, a lot of times when I get a picture, I'm doing the Google image search, and we've actually gotten
Oh yeah,
where they've pulled pictures
straight off the internet.
and sent it to us as if it was that animal.
sighting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so
No, I'm just showing you. That's what I seen though.
yeah, it's just we normally are going to ask for a picture.
Yeah.
And then we're going to normally recommend, hey, let's put some cameras up and see if we can get some more pictures of it to get a positive identification.
Yeah.
So on the hoof, I've seen some cats out on our property that we were talking to the landowner about. I don't remember the name of it, but it's a indigenous Texas cat.
Yeah.
It's got such a weird name.
Is it a bobcat?
No.
Yes, the bobcat.
The
The
elusive. No, it was it's a spotted cat, but it has the tail. The characteristics, if I could explain it, it's a small cat. Well, I saw a small cat. It could be big.
There's
It
a
had
ton
the-
of feral cats.
It had
out
the
there,
tail that shapes up like a mountain lion would, and then
So it's a longer tail.
yes. It
Are
was-
you thinking about a ring-tailed cat?
So I thought it was, but it wasn't a ringtail because it didn't have that, but it was spotted.
So
Maybe it
I
was,
did
and it just had the
see-
spots.
a landowner did show me a picture of a bobcat, and it was very spotted, like gorgeous. Not quite leopard spots, but like these.
like a bigger spot than what normal.
Yes, it was very spotted. Like
So was this, and
similar
it-
to like a snow leopard pattern.
Yeah, this was
but-
kind of like
But
that.
it did not look like a bobcat.
It did not look like a bobcat.
Bobcat body, but
Not tail.
gorgeous, spotted.
And not head characteristics.
Was it near dawn or dusk?
We were doing a spotlight survey when it happened.
That's
so
right.
It was at night. It was
Yeah.
somewhere between. Yeah.
So also eyes, I could have been so focused and my eyes got tired because that's what's happening when we're doing observations and stuff. Your eyes kind of get tired, and we talk about it all the time. Oh, it's a deer bush or a deer tree or a deer cactus. Everything starts looking like deer.
Yeah, so we have a cutout of a full-size mountain lion, and we utilize that as a kind of a teaching tool,
Yeah.
right? And sometimes people are very positive of what they saw, and so we'll meet with them out on their property, and normally we're going to bring that cutout with us to put it where
Makes sense.
wherever
Where
they
you thought saw it, yeah.
exactly.
And compare the photos.
Compare the photos. The one mountain lion that I have seen, I actually went and did a full scale kind of measurement process to confirm that hey, this was what I thought it was, and it was. So that's cool.
That's cool. That is cool.
But I think the thing to realize is that mountain lions are native to Texas, and because they're native to Texas, it can be seen across Texas,
Kind of like Bigfoot.
at any one place in time, right? And so it's not completely unexpected.
Speaking of Bigfoot, yeah, cat. I mean, like you said, they're native and all over. Do y'all ever get the Bigfoot calls?
No, I have
No.
not got that yet.
Yeah.
Not saying that I
Yeah.
will. Please don't call me as a prank, but I have not
Yeah.
gotten them yet.
I haven't
Bigfoot.
gotten that either.
No,
so.
I was just curious. Yeah. So feral cats, we mentioned that. I know we'll probably wrap it up here in a minute, but I'm just curious because we have a ton of feral cats too, detrimental to the bird population. I'm guessing, right? I mean, as a landowner, if you have a decent population of feral cats, when I say feral cats, they're definitely feral.
Yes.
Are they detrimental to much of the landscape? I mean, to me, there's nothing.
As far as turkey population.
Well, not just turkey, but just any birds or.
True.
Of
Yeah.
course. I mean, a feral cat would
They're-
not hesitate to go pick off a young turkey.
Yeah, they are killing machine pound for pound. I don't think there's anything more lethal than a cat.
Yeah,
And I
they-
mean,
they can
I
t-
love cats, but they are detrimental
Yeah.
to the, wildlife.
Well,
especially songbirds.
the bad thing is, found a kitten out there a couple of years ago, and it was about to starve to death. And this cat was feral, and I just kept feeding it. Like I carried cat food in my truck for this cat. Cat wouldn't see or come near anybody else, but if my truck is driving through, you'd see that cat jumping up over the grass, running to me. So
Oh my goodness.
It survived a rough winter. It got stronger and bigger. I mean, it was impressive. So they're very resilient to their resources.
oh
poor
yeah,
little guy.
they're amazing animals for sure.
I probably didn't do the right thing by keeping him alive, but I was a little tender. The older I get, the more tender-hearted I get, I guess.
Yeah, we did catch that cat's tail in the door jam of the truck.
And he screamed.
We had it in the truck, and Jimmy's trying to pet this cat, and you hear it going like, meow, meow, and he's like, "What's wrong?" And then he looks, he's like, "Oh man!" Opens the door, and it was.
Oh no.
We're
tail-
driving through the pasture, and this happens. And then I open the door, and his tail's like that. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry, little buddy.
But he was fine, and I was making fun of Jimmy it was going, ow, ow. Well, listen, man, we're super glad that you guys got a chance to come sit down with us. We've been trying to line this up for a while since we met you guys. We're thankful to have you as a resource for us on the property that we manage, and we want to continue to use that resource and expand upon that. We thank you for all the time you put in for us out there. And Jimmy, is there anything last that you want to kind of close out with? I just kind of want to turn it over to you guys, and we'll wrap it up.
Yeah, no, I mean, you kind of hit the nail on the head. I just want to say,
Hey,
like,
it doesn't have to be the last.
yeah. I mean,
That's right. We have a lot more to dive into. We hadn't even talked about quail in Texas. We haven't
There's-
even talked, there's so much.
We had to have a break the ice type deal, so I feel that the ice
We
has
can do
been
something
broken.
once a month.
I'm
Yeah,
down.
That would be great.
There's
Fine
so
with
much
me.
information to give everybody that we can do it and maybe seasonal, like talk something that's
Yeah, that's
topical in that season. And I want to learn more about burns.
Yeah,
we can do something. We can talk about burns at
Yeah.
nauseam.
Oh, I
We-
love that because we didn't even get into like why burns are
Right.
Yeah, we-
effective and why they are good for the landscape. So
May-
that's
may-
a whole other conversation.
Maybe we can do one, record it, document it, and
Yeah.
Results and all that.
yeah,
Yeah.
that could be cool.
I got one thing before you guys get off, and this is something that I'm kind of passionate about because it's something that it works for me for my profession, and it's data, right? How important is data, people to share to you, whether it's numbers, not numbers, like I'm seeing turkey, I'm not seeing turkey, I'm seeing deer, I'm not seeing deer. Data is data, is it not? And sometimes that data, whether some landowner or somebody's trying to manage the property, whether it's not the numbers they want to see or hear, that data is still just equally as important to you, is it not?
Yeah, I mean, I think regardless of whether it's numeric data or just people checking in and letting us know what they're seeing on the landscape, and so I'll use an example with that. So this past year we released 36 turkeys within the Granger area, and we released 19 birds in Milam County, and specifically within the Granger area, I've been getting a ton of phone calls from landowners and just the public that they're seeing those birds. And so those are data points. Each observation and report is a data point. And so that's kind of an example of, we appreciate, letting us know, that sort of thing. So.
And data turns into results at some point, you know. Which, speaking of, we seen turkeys the other day.
Oh my goodness.
There. We've seen 4 hens.
Y'all need to look. And while they might not all have our GPS backpack on it, try to look at the legs and see if it's banded or not. Because it's either
silver band.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah, we couldn't see I mean, they were in some, grass.
But we were so excited. We were like, go, look,
we were fist pumping each other. Like,
no, that's amazing.
First 4 turkeys we've seen out there ever.
And I mean, I have been down on the property before. Y'all have great roosting trees. That's a good area.
The river that
San Gabriel. We've seen them right on the river.
Mm-hmm.
Right on the river, yeah. Right where you'd kind of expect to see a turkey, where they were, yeah.
Well, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. We want to thank our special guests again. We had Brittany Perry and Cullom Simpson. They are I would say, local wildlife biologists here.
When you say local, though,
it's
is
very broad.
Yeah.
But we want to thank them for coming out because they're not just neighbors right down the street. They had to make a drive and they had to join us, and we appreciate their time. We want to respect their time and let them go and probably get some dinner and all that stuff. But we hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you liked what you saw today, make sure you kind of share this with your friends, send it to some buddies and stuff and say, hey, man, these guys are putting out some informative content. It's long format. You got to bear with us when we're doing stuff like this. It does, it's not a quick YouTube video or short. This is informative content we're trying to share with you guys, and they got a lot of that information. We hope to have them come back and do this again with us. So I think we'll sign out. Jimmy?
Yeah, if you have some questions or comments, drop those. If y'all are cool with coming back at some point, drop those questions now.
Yeah,
we'll get those answered
we
on
can
the
do a
next
deep
one.
dive into a more specific topic.
Yeah, we would love to hear some of those topics, that people are kind of burning out there, and then, we can get them to you, and
there we go.
We can do a good deep dive in those. So send them to us. Like, share, and subscribe. All those good things that
There you go.
everybody asks for. I don't even know what it does, but it does something.
We need it, but we'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.